Hello there, this is Luke.
And I'm Elijah. And we are the Eagles of Steel. If you guys saw my comment just today, we are going to be changing it up a bit. We're taking a break from football today because not only is it just getting a little too crazy and we want to take a step back for just a couple weeks, but also it's going to be my birthday tomorrow.
Happy early birthday to you, man.
Yeah, thank you. And it's exciting, and I want to do something that I really enjoyed, and for me, this is one thing that I really enjoy talking about, which is movies.
So what kind of movies are we discussing today?
And today we're going to be going over some Pixar.
This will be interesting.
Pixar's been going on for so long now. Their first feature-length film was Toy Story 1 back in 1995. So
almost 30 years.
So I grew up with all of Pixar, and so have you. So it's gonna be interesting to see how many of these movies kind of stack up over time. And let's dive right in. For me, my honorable mentions are Monsters University and Toy Story 2. So with Monsters University, the reason why it's an honorable mention is that it's severely underrated. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I do. It's a great movie. The soundtrack is good. The characters are still good. The theme of it is actually really good. Yeah. As for Toy Story 2, it's kind of one of the weakest of the series. It's not as bad as 4. Gosh, it's not as bad as 4. But it's still a good movie. I don't know. There's not much to say much about it then after that. How about you, dude?
Me? My honorable mentions, I have Cars 3 and also Monsters University. So, Cars 3. Some people say, this movie was, off course. But, remember, this. In the Cars 3 series, it was new gen cars versus Lightning, because Lightning was just falling back because he was in the older series of gen cars.
Yeah.
But also the same as Monsters University. Yeah. Very underrated. It's not a bad movie, but remember this: it basically goes back in time before they did Monsters Inc. Pretty much. Just keep that in mind. Basically, it was flipped around.
Yeah, Monsters University is a prequel, and as for Cars 3. I don't know. The Cars movies have always been kind of a weaker link of Pixar for me.
Okay.
2 was gosh darn awful, and then 3 was better than 2 for sure. But Cars 1 was actually good. I really enjoyed Cars 1.
Let's just get into the top 10.
Okay, fine. Okay. I'll let you start it off with that.
I have one that people really don't usually get to watch. It's called Finding Nemo. This is interesting. People underestimate this movie. This movie is good. It's not great movies I have up the list. That's why it's very underrated, similar to Monsters University. But Finding Nemo, it's you're in the ocean and you're trying to find your son, and it's a huge, amazing adventure to all around the ocean to find someone. It's more of it's not really a thrilling action movie, but
yeah, I would say Finding Nemo is actually overrated. A lot of people have it as their within their top 5 of Pixar films.
I don't though. That's why I have it at 10.
Yeah, but a lot of people have that overrated in their top 5 films, and I'm it's fine, but it's not top 5. It's for me, it's middle of the pack. I don't have it on my list here today. Just to give that one heads up, if you're hoping that I had it here, it's not here. Sorry, guys. Remember, do not be a baby. We need to make sure we have that ground rule still.
These are our opinions.
Yeah. My number 10 is Onward.
Now, what's that?
So Onward is kind of a newer movie, or at least newer in the sense of most of the ones on my list. It's kind of a weird magical / futuristic modern.
Like I said, never watched it.
Like world. It's a combination of like 3 different styles, and for the most part, it actually matches pretty well together. But the thing is, the thing that got me the most was the ending of the film, which I'm not going to spoil if you have not seen the movie. Just so you know, like, we're not going to do any spoilers unless we just feel like it. But don't worry, we give you the spoiler alert if we do. But the ending of that movie hit me so hard because there's something that happened in my life at that time that affected me to where that scene hit home. So it's a great movie.
So it's personal for you.
Very personal.
Yeah. Okay. What you got for your number 9?
I got Coco. That's also another kind of newer movie. If you,
I have watched it a little bit. Yes.
Yeah. So for this one, I wouldn't say when it comes down to like how special it is, when it comes down to different scenes, I wouldn't say it's good in that sense. But the reason why I have it above Onward is because of the soundtrack of that movie. So I love movies with good instrumental and actually some good musical numbers in it. And boy, Coco has some good ones. And the story was still good behind it. The idea of, I'm guessing it was like the dead past or something of like, I'm trying to remember what they called it. It was just a really interesting like world that they tried to build, and the culture that they used was actually kind of cool. So yeah, I have it number 9. How about you?
My number 9, I have Toy Story 2. But most people say this movie is overrated, but it's a good movie. I keep that in mind. But like you said before, you don't even have it on your list. I'm pretty sure. No, you had it as your honorable mention. But like I said, good movie. But also, the villain in this movie also focuses more on a toy itself. It's not really human like the first one. But also, a human villain is always good. But
yeah.
The reason why I don't really have it so high up is, well, it's more. Actually, technically, it's not really that bad because you also get introduced to a bunch of other toys as well
that they used in the future movies that they made.
Exactly.
Yeah, with Toy Story 2, that one was that movie is always interesting. In the sense that they had like, I guess it was like 3 different villains or something. Like, they had that Stinky Pete guy, they had the Big Al, and then they had Zurg, which was just there for extras. But
he was just there just because.
He was there for because, yeah.
Anyways, my number 8, I have Monsters Inc. So, and I know you think this is a little low, but like I said, the next 7 of my movies, like 7 to 1, are all really good and special to me.
Okay.
Like same as Monster Inc. too. That is a good movie, but it's definitely better than Monsters University. Obviously, all the classic is definitely original than University, and you probably would agree with me on that.
For sure, like Inc. is better than University, by far. No, I think it's probably better than a lot of other movies that are coming out for both of us. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting when we get to that point. So my number 8 is Up.
Okay.
And
seems
about the first 20 minutes of that movie being some of the most outstanding storytelling and build-up that I've ever seen, just for the rest of the movie to be very mediocre.
And it was also very teary-eyed at the very beginning too. It's one of the most teary-eyed stories.
It was the first 20 minutes was if Up was the entire just 20 minutes long and it was just that opening, it'd be one of the best projects that Pixar ever released. But then of course they had make the rest of the film, and it was just kind of there for me. I didn't really care for the rest of the film, but that first 20 minutes is the reason why it's in my top 10 because it was so well done. The soundtrack was great. The amount of emotion that they put into it without any words into that segment was outstanding to me. So that's why it's up at 8. I just wish that the rest of the movie was better.
What is your number 7? I'm curious to know.
Yeah. My number 7 is Cars 1.
Okay. I got that be on the top 10.
Yeah, so for Cars 1, I said earlier, I wasn't a huge big fan of all the Cars movies, but Cars 1 in particular is really good still. The soundtrack is great. The story that they're telling is great. It's a very basic story of like trying to build character and realizing that fame isn't everything.
There's other parts to life than just fame.
Yeah, and yeah, like Doc Hudson is good. Lightning McQueen in that movie was like he was the cocky racer and rookie. And he got humbled, and that was the part that I liked the most about it. It's just the fact that he just kept getting humbled until he realized that there's more to life than just what he was doing. And that movie is desperately needed for most modern sports players right now. Actually, if we want to talk about not just racing but football and all the other sports, people take all that money and fame for granted, and then they
don't know
waste their life away for other aspects. So Cars is still very important to today. How about you?
For your number 7 or for my number 7?
Your number 7.
My number 7, I have Toy Story, the original one. Not okay. Like the original. I know you probably have it a little higher than this. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the more we go up my list, the better the movie I think it is.
Well, duh. That's the top 10.
That is true. Toy Story is also a special movie in my heart because it talks about having friends and all that, and not being able to lose your toy and be able to go back to your original owner at the very end. No spoiler, right? Being come back to the original owner at the end of the movie, but there was the original Sid. I think his name was the villain in that movie. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they taught him a lesson. Like that kind of got to me. Like sometimes karma comes back to bite you at the end for messing with toys.
Yeah. See everything.
So play nice.
Oh man, guys, the amount of times I could quote that movie is beyond ridiculous.
Anyway, my number 6, I have Ratatouille.
Ratatouille. Okay. What about for that one?
Well, it goes all over the place, honestly. Like, you're right, the soundtrack is pretty good in that movie, honestly. Like, because it's mostly Italian pretty much throughout that movie. But they don't speak Italian. French. Whatever.
It's French.
It's mostly French in the movie.
Is French.
But it's still is a great movie all the way out. Yeah. But there's other things in this movie that get to me, like family and like trusting your family, and so you not being by yourself. Because you being by yourself, you get very lonely real fast in this movie.
Well,
and depending on anyone else too.
Okay, when I watch the movie, I don't think of being alone. I think of someone trying to do something that is out of the ordinary for what they normally do. Almost like a breaking of stereotype, if you will. Like a rat does not cook naturally in real life, but in this movie, he does. And the whole theme of it is pretty much doesn't matter who you are, you can put your mind to it type thing, and you got it.
It's like in the book, it says anyone can cook.
Yes, exactly. So my number 6, I believe, yes. Number 6 is WALL-E. So, of course, this movie had to be in the top 10. Like, this movie is so well crafted, well animated. Like I guess the same thing. Soundtrack is pretty solid. And the fact that you can get so much emotion from two robots that barely talk
is like,
and humans are like almost all but a non-presence in it is actually fun to watch. Like, I know the whole premise around it is all about global warming, pretty much, and like having too much trash.
And then
that's the whole point of the movie. But
the whole love story,
with robotic love story. It's a weird movie for sure. Pixar knew what they were doing when they were making the movie, and it was a very good movie.
Well, what you got for your number 5 then?
Number 5 is Monsters Incorporated. So, with this movie, I quote this to this day many times at work. Especially like right now. So right now I work at a grocery store, and people sometimes like to misplace things all over the place. So anytime they do that, I go, put that thing back where it came from, or so help me.
Yeah, it's like this was always a famous one.
Yeah.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
Oh man, like with the amount of funny quotes and the two actors in it, John Goodman and Billy Crystal, like
very good.
Sully and Mikey, like it's a very good duo that I love watching. And oh man, like that's why I like Monsters University too, because their duo is still good in that movie too. It's not as like Monsters Inc. is where it started. Monsters University, like they built a little bit upon it from the past or whatever, but it was their dynamic is what holds these movies together, and it was so hilarious watching those movies. Now, before I move on though, the soundtrack. Whew, baby, the soundtrack. Oh, I could just jam out to that most of the time, you know? Like, I actually have it, like, as one of my playlist songs.
Well, that's when you know you really like it.
Yeah, it's such a good soundtrack. How about you?
So my number 5, this one may sound very controversial, is a Cars 2 movie. This is very controversial. I know, I see you over there like, why? Why'd you put it on your list? Well, I've watched it ever since I was a kid. Ever since it came out, I've watched it. Like, yes, it goes a little off on the action part of the movie, but it also still has the racing part in it too. Also, remembers about like a spy movie, like you're super cool, like watching, like I want to be this. I want to be a spy. But I know some people always say like, oh, this movie's horrible. Well, like I said, I even one time had a poster of all the vehicles in that Cars 2 movie. Like I had a whole poster. So, okay. I see you over there. Anyways, my number 4, I have The Incredibles. So the original Incredibles movie. Okay. Obviously, it's obviously in my top 5 is a very cool action movie. It's better than Cars 2, I'll say that, because obviously it's based around superheroes. And then then losing the job as a superhero and then getting back in the saddle again. And now your whole family joining you too. Yeah. Which is the fun part about this as well. Yeah. When you work together as a family.
Yeah. When I get to that movie, I'll bring up my own views on that movie. For my number 4 is Toy Story 1.
Okay.
So when it comes down to Toy Story 1, if you want to talk about a good dynamic, Monsters Inc. had that, like I said, with John Goodman and Billy Crystal. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Woody and Buzz. Oh, man. It's like magic. The way they like interact with each other. And the way that their friendship is built when they like are pretty much rivals at the beginning of this, like in this first movie.
Because they didn't know each other first.
Yeah. And it was kind of like they were two rivals trying to fight over the same owner. It was... The dynamic was good. Sid was a good villain for the most part. I wouldn't say he's like a villain. He was just a bad kid. But with, a drunk parent. But
yeah, pretty much.
But with this movie though, even though this movie came out in 1995, it still has some really good like animation. Also
some good music too, like you were saying.
Oh, the music is still good. Like You Got a Friend in Me. Strange Things. But yeah, like that like those two songs right there are really good. And then the soundtrack outside of that is also still pretty good. Yeah, like all in all, like Toy Story is still a very iconic movie for me. I grew up a lot with it. And yeah, just it very holds that special place for nostalgia. Number 3 is The Incredibles.
Okay, so not far off of what I had.
Yeah. With The Incredibles, it is by far the most adult Pixar movie ever made. The amount of themes in that movie about like marriage, relationship struggles, but also like being like parents of superheroes. It's almost similar to X-Men style when it comes down to like how they treat supers or whatever in that series.
Okay, interesting.
But it's interesting how they do it, and I love the characters, all of them. They're all great characters. Oh man, the soundtrack again. I cannot overemphasize how much I love a good soundtrack. The Incredibles soundtrack is by far, I think, actually the best on my list.
I can reason with that.
Like the theme song is so good. Yes. And it's just, okay. Like, yeah, I don't have to say anything more. You can tell how much I like this movie. Yes.
My number 3, I have Cars. The first one. I really love this movie. Like,
it's ranked a little high.
Good. Let me explain.
Okay.
Basically, like what you said earlier, based off of getting too cocky as a race car driver. Like one of the jobs I wanted to do when I grew up was be a NASCAR racer. But I realized like how cocky and how much fame you get, I'm like, okay, this is too much for me. No thanks.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you were a NASCAR driver, but like it's something like, and I wouldn't say like looking at this. Okay, I would say right now, looking at cars, if you wanted to be a NASCAR driver, I would I would have gone and done that. It's more so you need to make sure that you hold on to the morals that you do have, type thing.
That's what I'm trying to.
Like in Cars, he didn't hold on to the morals. He got a hold of the fame, and he kind of had to get reminded almost of what morals were.
From Radiator Springs, he had that entire time to remind him.
Yeah.
You mind doing your number 2, number 1? Because my number 2 and my number 1 are similar in my heart. So
yeah, I'll let you hold on to those. So my number 2 is Toy Story 3.
Okay.
It is the best conclusion to the Toy Story series. Yeah, Toy Story 4 doesn't exist, but
it wasn't that great. No, Toy Story 3, it was good, but
yeah, Toy Story 3 was one of the best third movies I think I've ever seen in a series. It concluded the series well. The villain was great. The soundtrack was great. The actors played their parts really well. Overall, just a very, very good experience. A lot of nostalgia was built up for me for this movie, and it didn't disappoint. And then my number 1 is Ratatouille. Now everyone's wondering, okay, why do you have Ratatouille at number 1, not like something like The Incredibles or Toy Story or Monsters Inc. or anything but that one? Here's the thing for Ratatouille. There's something about the story of Ratatouille and the actors in it that I just really appreciated. What it taught me when I was growing up is that I can try and go and be anything I want to be. I just need to believe that I can be. And because like how the whole saying of is anyone can cook, and like that for me is
anyone can do this.
Anybody can do this if you put your mind to it. And that is how that helped me through a lot of times when I was growing up, and that's why this movie is my number 1 and it has a special place in my heart. So yeah. Now, what's your number 2 and 1?
These 2 movies are a special place in my heart, similar to what you had, Up and Wall-E. Number 2, okay. Up. Number 1, Wall-E. I know how you're feeling right now. Like, why are these 2 movies 1 and 2? Let me explain.
They're good movies, so I'm not going to say like that. But
this is back when so people don't know this. Like, you're watching this. I've never told you guys this. I still have epilepsy, and I'm also autistic as well. And back when I didn't really have my medication for my epilepsy, back when I was still in the hospital for this stuff, I used to watch these 2 movies all the time, repeatedly. And my dad started getting sick of it. I watched it that much. But those movies are still stuck in my head today. And like, like I can phrase some of these, but it's just been a while since I watched them.
Well, those two movies are definitely great, and like like I said, I had them both on my list, so it's not like I didn't agree that they definitely belonged somewhere up there. I just don't have that high because I don't have that sentiment compared to the other ones, but that's fine. So there you go. That is our top 10 Pixar movies,
and a lot of different
things,
views and opinions.
So before we go, there's one more thing I want to comment about. So we're gonna switch it kind of back to what we're known for, which is football, for this ending part, because there's something that I've been noticing or seeing in our comment sections. People trying when people say their opinions. When we want you to say your opinion, we don't want you guys to say we invalidate yours or yours is just stupid, or don't be rude about our opinions. You can share yours, but don't hurt ours. Don't hurt ours. And please, guys, hold off on the foul language. We're trying to be a family-friendly channel, and we don't need people. We don't need people reading our comment sections with the S word or the A word or the F word, any of those bad things. Just keep those out of our comment sections, please. It's very rude and disrespectful. To make sure you guys knew that.
Anyways, comment down below on this video. What do you think of this top 10 we did?
But still, I want you guys to comment. Yeah, for sure. Comment down below. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, which is probably right around here on the screen. And as always, I'm Elijah.
And this is Luke.
And we are the Eagles of Steel. Bye.